Hey everyone, today we're totally peeling back the curtain on a company that you probably see honestly on a weekly basis. We're looking right behind the golden arches. By the time we wrap up this explainer, the way you look at this incredibly famous brand is going to fundamentally change. We are breaking down the secret business behind McDonald's. So let's start with a big question. What actually makes McDonald's the most valuable fast food company on earth? Most people just assume the answer is super obvious. It's the sheer volume, right? The millions of people walking through the doors every day, the massive global reach, the endless supply of drive-thrus serving up billions of meals. But what's the actual driver of this empire's incredible wealth? Well, here's the incredible twist. It is not the burgers. No way. In fact, if you stripped away every single Big Mac, every order of perfectly salted fries, every chicken McNugget, and every soft drink, one of the company's greatest sources of power and wealth would literally still remain completely intact. Because behind those golden arches lies a business that most hungry customers never actually see. Layer 1. The hamburger illusion. Okay, let's dive into this. For decades, you might have heard people repeating this internet myth. McDonald's is actually a real estate company. It sounds kind of crazy, right? It's this surface-level myth of the burger joint that distracts us from the colossal corporate engine running underneath it all. But when we define a real estate company as one where wealth is heavily driven by property ownership and leasing rather than just retail sales, well, that myth becomes reality. McDonald's controls something far more valuable than the food it sells. There's a really profound truth here, but to understand exactly how a simple hamburger stand became a global real estate titan, we've got to look back at its origins. Layer 2, the need for speed. Believe it or not, this entire empire started with a remarkably simple, yet completely radical focus on just one thing: operational speed. Back in 1940, brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald opened a small restaurant in San Bernardino, California. At the time, the whole industry was totally dominated by drive-in restaurants that relied on massive complicated menus and car hops bringing food right to your car window. But the brothers, they went the exact opposite direction. Now, skipping ahead a bit to 1955, a struggling milkshake machine salesman named Ray Kroc visited them. Now, he wasn't looking to build an empire. He honestly just wanted to know why on earth one single restaurant needed so many of his milkshake mixers. He saw what they were doing, realized they had built this brilliantly replicable system, and he opened the first franchise under his leadership in Illinois. So what exactly was that system Kroc saw? It basically boiled down to 3 revolutionary steps. First, the brothers ruthlessly eliminated any unnecessary menu items. Just got rid of them. Second, they completely standardized their cooking procedures. And third, they designed this factory-inspired assembly line kitchen. The result was just pure process optimization. Customers got their food incredibly fast, costs stayed incredibly low, and the whole operation became remarkably efficient. But as Kroc aggressively expanded this new franchise model across America, a massive problem emerged. Early franchisees actually started ignoring company standards. Some cut corners to save a few bucks, others made incredibly poor local business decisions. And because Kroc's early model relied simply on collecting franchise fees, he just didn't have enough leverage over these operators to stop them. Quality became inconsistent, cash flow became completely unpredictable, and honestly, this entire beautiful system risked falling apart completely.
Layer 3. The real estate empire.
Now, this exact crisis is the moment everything shifted. Enter a man named Harry Sonborn. He was an accountant and financial strategist who stepped in and noticed a really stark contrast between 2 different models. Traditional franchising, what we'll call the old way, depended heavily on those inconsistent franchise fees. So he proposed the Sonborn way. Instead of allowing franchisees to own the restaurant property themselves, McDonald's would actually buy or lease the land directly. The corporate company would then lease that exact property back to the franchise operators. So they stopped just collecting royalties and they started collecting rent. It sounds like a simple accounting tweak, right? But the benefits are absolutely staggering. Suddenly, McDonald's had steady, totally predictable rent income. If a franchisee didn't meet their strict quality standards, McDonald's could literally evict them, which perfectly aligned franchisee incentives with corporate rules. Plus, McDonald's retained total control over prime real estate. They strategically selected high-traffic intersections and super busy commercial corridors. So the restaurants attracted the customers, for sure, but the real estate, that generated the long-term compounding value. Layer 4, the power of scale. So they secured the real estate, and they secured the control. But once you have thousands of prime locations locked down, how do you actually feed this machine on a global scale? Well,
You do it through a relentless standardization engine. The food is what brings customers through the doors, but consistency is what keeps them coming back. Whether you're ordering a Big Mac in Chicago, London, Tokyo, or Dubai, the expectation is exactly the same. McDonald's developed one of the most sophisticated operating systems in the entire world to ensure every single ingredient, every cooking procedure, every piece of equipment, and every employee training program is identical. It basically reduces variation to zero, meaning customers inherently trust exactly what they're going to get.
And standardization at that kind of global level unlocks a massive equation. Massive scale equals massive purchasing power. Just think about it. McDonald's buys beef, potatoes, packaging, soft drinks, and cooking equipment at volumes that are honestly almost hard to comprehend. Because of this, suppliers compete fiercely and aggressively just to get their contracts. This allows McDonald's to negotiate incredibly favorable prices, driving down their costs and significantly improving their profitability across the board. This setup brilliantly illustrates a completely symbiotic ecosystem. On one hand, you have independent franchisees investing their own capital to run the day-to-day local business. They are, in turn, supported by corporate McDonald's, which provides this world-class brand, the flawless system, and, crucially, controls that prime real estate. And finally, you have dedicated suppliers who provide the goods at a massive scale in exchange for incredibly stable long-term contracts. Every single pillar supports the others. Everyone succeeds when the restaurants perform well. Wrapping up this whole ecosystem is the marketing layer. The golden arches are literally among the most recognizable symbols on the planet. Characters like Ronald McDonald and campaigns like the Happy Meal, they aren't just ads. They build really deep emotional connections and childhood memories. People just associate that logo with familiarity and comfort. And this intense brand recognition dramatically reduces the effort and the money required by those local franchisees to attract customers into their specific stores. Layer 5, the ultimate business machine. So, we've looked at the history, the real estate, and the scale. Now let's look at the ultimate machine operating today. The system has been refined over decades, but it has never stopped evolving. When consumer preferences shifted, McDonald's adapted right along with them. They added healthier menu options and made coffee a massive pillar of their business. As technology advanced, they seamlessly integrated digital ordering, delivery services, mobile loyalty apps, and those self-service kiosks that totally reduce your wait time. Now, the physical buildings might look dramatically different from those brightly colored restaurants of the 1980s, but the underlying core principles of speed, consistency, efficiency, and scalability, those remain completely untouched. So the absolutely crucial takeaway is this stack right here. This is what we call the uncopyable engine. Competitors can absolutely copy a burger recipe. They can imitate a restaurant layout or run a really similar promotional campaign, but they cannot replicate this complete system easily. Building thousands of prime-owned real estate locations takes decades. Creating a flawless global supply chain with massive purchasing power takes years. Earning that level of deeply ingrained customer trust cannot just be rushed. Each of these individual elements uniquely strengthens the others to form a truly uncopyable engine. You see, McDonald's didn't become a global icon because it invented the absolute best-tasting hamburger in the world. It became an icon because it completely mastered a business system. As Ray Kroc famously noted, you're only as good as the system you build. Individual restaurants will naturally succeed or fail. Store managers are going to come and go, but a masterfully engineered, rigidly disciplined system that keeps producing results year after year, decade after decade. Which leaves us with this final thought. The next time you're driving down the street and you pass beneath those golden arches, what will you really see? Because you're no longer just looking at a place to grab a quick lunch. You are looking at a brilliantly disguised commercial real estate empire, an absolute masterclass in global supply chain logistics, and decades of carefully engineered business strategy, all hidden right behind a simple hamburger. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.